Hey there, Conquistadors. We're Tablet Gaming, and we're here to bring you the hottest takes that we've ever taken. Is that a phrase?
Yes.
Yes. Basically, at 3 p.m. today, Para Bellum went on their live stream. They did their happy hour, and as part of their happy hour, not only did they go over some of the new rules that are dropping on Monday, but they posted the Wadroon and Nord's army lists. And I don't know if you know this, but I'm Isaac and I'm a Wadroon player, and this is my friend Brandon. What army is your primary, or was at one point your
The first one I
primary?
ever played was Nords.
Yeah.
It's actually what got me into this game.
Yeah, he went nuts with Nords. Actually, before anything was even a twinkle in my eye, you started off buying a massive purchase of Nords when I was like, I'm thinking about Conquest,
Yeah.
and you were like, I already bought it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you just
So-
I'm thinking, don't go ham on this until we kind of know if we want it. And then I was like, imagine a world where I bought a bunch of Nords.
Yeah. So, despite talking so much about Nords just now, we are going to start with the Wadroon army list. And also, when I say they dropped it today, I have absolutely no thought in my brain that I'm going to have this edited and posted the night that they did this, Thursday, 10/10/2024. So you are probably listening to this at some point over that weekend or sometime in the future. You might have found this this is probably out of date. If it is any later than October, this is probably out of date. So go ahead, watch it for posterity. Anyways.
Yes. And to reiterate what Isaac just said, these came out a few hours ago, and we have day jobs, so these are pretty fresh off the press takes. I looked at the Nords first, so this is the first time I'm going to really digest this. Isaac's had a little bit of thought on this.
Yep.
But we're doing it live, guys.
Yeah. So that's why, like, normally we take some semblance of notes. Like, we have a little professional attitude about it. This time, absolutely not. No, as he said, we're doing it live. Let's scroll. Let's get to the new army rule. If there is a new army rule. No, they changed it. Scroll past this nonsense. Let's get that out of here.
All right, that's nice.
True. So, War Chant. Actually, let's set some ground rules.
Yes.
I am mostly going to talk about things from the perspective of how they changed. And maybe if they've changed it enough, I will kind of throw out their old version and try to only talk about the new version. But most of this is going to be from the context of how things changed, rather than our usual kind of hot take army list review, where we kind of like talk about everything as the stats that we see. So this is not going to be like a good first foray into Wadroon, I don't think.
Correct. This is going to be the Delta, and to facilitate that, I did pull up the current Wadroon list in the Army Builder, which has not been updated, so we can use this as a quick
feel free to memory check me.
But yeah, and I think that's good. And a lot of off-the-cuff stuff. As this brews or the larger rules, which get released on Monday, come out, it might change these, and you'll hear, maybe we'll do more hot takes.
Yep. Not a lot fundamentally changed with the chant system. You still only have 3 tokens, up to 3 tokens. You aren't required to chant at 3 tokens anymore. You can hold on to those tokens as long as you want. So yeah, things still working the same. You need a certain number of tokens in order to chant. Actually, I believe it's 3 tokens universally in order to chant at all. But you can get bonuses for only discarding 2 of them. And I think that there are going to be more situations where you have that extra token that is going to kind of go to waste, so to speak, just because of how the chants themselves have changed. And we'll get into that. And just to finish this off, they dropped the dueling rule that gave you a token if you want to duel, or it gave you Fanatic if you want to duel, because nobody did that.
I was going to say, in the amount of times we've played, that has happened.
I've never won a single duel.
Yeah.
Like, I've never killed a character in a duel, let alone in such a way where I like
could capitalize
on Fanatic. Yeah. And then, everything else is pretty much the same. There's still the 4 cults. Their Conquest translates into any of the cults before you spend it, etc. So let's look at those new chants.
So one thing I just want to call out is you mentioned you don't have to chant anymore. You can hold it.
Yes.
That does feel like a positive change, because I know sometimes with you what I would do is if I want priority and would take out what you intended to activate, that then you would have to, it would take the first card off your stack because you wanted to go with something, and then you would have to do the next one. You'd be like, that one doesn't. This seems to give you a little bit more flexibility, so one bad initiative roll or one bad sequencing doesn't hurt you as much. So that seems like a quality of life improvement.
I'm not a fan of how Brandon just told on me there, because like the actually good players out there are going to be like, well, it sounds like Isaac puts his card stack in such a way to make priority a very important role. What a noob! And you just outed me like that. All the pro players are like, wow, that guy's a moron. So thank you for that.
Even in the top competitive game at the top table, a game was decided by a charge roll of 6. So
but that's not a priority roll.
No. So I'm going to say is like every player in their life will have a game and a round where they kind of have to go first. So like I'm just saying, like, even in those cases, it happens in tournaments. So like this means that it's harder
I'm human.
to get yeah, exactly.
But yes, this does make it harder to miss sequence. It protects you against that, which is actually an aspect I didn't really think too much about yet. So thank you for pointing that out.
I like it for new players for Watch Room because I feel like this is the hardest part, and I think that helps players get up to speed where they don't have to worry on that. I really do think this helps people get into Watch Room because I know people, like we talked to Tavius in a local group who kind of got into Watch Room. He bought some stuff, and I know he was asking a bunch of rules about this.
Yeah.
It's a little harder the first time. This makes it a little easier until they get to the good point.
Anyways, I'm sick of this page. Let's move on. Let's move on. All right, so the first thing you're going to notice, you still got the 4 cults, as I mentioned. You've got a bunch of 2-marker chants. You've got a bunch of tier 1 chants. They all, except for Conquest, do the same thing. They all give you +1 command stand scoring. I just butchered that. They all give you non-light regiment command stands counts as 1 additional stand for the purposes of seizing objective zones, which is an interesting ability, but here's my hot take of the evening. I think it's a little boring that all 3 of those cults do the same thing at tier 2.
Yep. I think this ability is boring but powerful.
I think it's a good ability.
Correct.
I think objective play is powerful with how the scenarios are set up. They've kind of made this a very objective forward game. If you've listened to other videos, you know my thoughts on standing in circles. Anything that interacts with standing in circles is usually a pretty good rule.
What's hilarious is only one has a different 2-marker, and that's Conquest.
Yes.
And what's funny is Conquest is the one that I think thematically would be better at taking an objective.
I mean, just based on the name, yes, it does feel like Conquest would be, anyways, the 3-marker, Famine, +2 inches to charge distance. That used to be their like tier 1 bonus, that you would get shock and +2 inches to charge distance. Now it's tier 2, so it requires 3 markers. Death, untouchable special rule. You reroll 6s on defense, which can be cool. It is going back to what you were just saying. It's a little weird that Death, which seems like it would be like a killy offensive ability, gives you a purely defensive ability. War used to be the defensive kind of system, and now it gives you Cleave 1, which is what it used to give you at tier 2. At tier 1, it would give you +1 defense and unbreak you if you were broken. And Conquest, you get +2 inches to march for the first march action, so you don't get it as a bonus to charge or anything. It's only your march action and only the first march action that you do. It used to be 3, and then their 3-marker chant is +2 to evasion characteristic to a maximum of 2. It used to be maximum 3, and actually this is like anti-synergy in a lot of ways, because like Chosen of Conquest already have evasion 1.
I was just gonna say
Blooded already have evasion 1. Like, it's good on Braves and stuff, but it's certainly good on, I think I think Tauntors and like Apex Predators can get Conquest. That's something that we'll find out when we read the unit entries, I think, because it used to be a unit entry rule. I might have to double check the PDF later if we don't see it in the first monster entry. But yeah, it feels like some of the units that would use that most, or how I would use it most, especially the Scion of Conquest, already have evasion built in. So capping it at the number that it gives feels like a little bit of a
Like, yeah,
waste.
you're gonna not get all you need from it. And the one thing I'll say, and I know you kind of mentioned, is like I think one thing that's really great is when you have a design space where the narrative is expressed through rules, because I think that creates a very good Ludo narrative. And it feels like the reason famine lets you better at charging is because they're hungry and they're going to go kill things to
Yeah.
eat or something, right? So like if famine was the move one, so the level 1 was the +2 movement, and then the level 3 was the +2 charge distance. If the conquest was the taking objectives, and then the evasion because they wanted to hold it, and then the death was the better like it feels like some of these could be more thematically tied to things that would just make more sense.
I think that the conquest one does make sense. In my head, I've always pictured it as
I guess
they
the only
move super
March-
fast.
Yeah.
So because they and like that ties into the 3 action thing too. Like they basically like do haste on themselves to make a Dungeons and Dragons like reference. Like they get faster, and then at higher levels of intense chanting, like they're dodging better, or they're moving so fast that their evasion goes up. And then like the third action that they used to have is just like the final level of like these guys are moving like superhumanly fast.
yeah.
So yeah, overall, I think that these battle cries are blander, just because the tier 1 is
The
almost
same for
universally
three.
the same.
Yeah.
And they lose a little bit of thematic, in my opinion, just because like, no, well, let's not talk too much about fluff because I'll be here all night. The other thing that I want to mention is you can only chant at 3 markers when you have 3 markers in your stack. And so 99% of the time, you are going to get the tier 2 benefit. The only time you're only going to get the tier 1 benefit is if you have 2 of like famine and 1 of war, like because your sequence got messed up. If your sequence gets messed up, or you miss sequence from the start, is like the only time that you're going to be like, okay, I only get the command stand, because you can only chant when you have 3 markers, and the extra marker gets discarded anyways. So like there's no incentive for you to be like, oh, I've got 3 death markers, I'm only going to chant 2 and save the third one. You can't do that. You still have to discard all 3. So if you have 3 death markers, you're getting the tier 2 bonus. You're getting untouchable. What I do like is untouchable used to be the tier 3 benefit for death.
It makes it a little more.
And I feel like, yeah, this makes it more approachable. Nothing else kind of got that boost. I think death was considered one of the weaker ones. It used to give you +1 clash at level 1.
Okay.
At level 2, it gave you flawless strikes. And at level 3, it gave you untouchable.
Okay.
So it went from almost purely offensive with like a defensive at the end to only defensive. And I also, untouchable versus like +2. Well, conquest, I think part of it is conquest is also harder to get.
Yes.
And so it gets to be a little stronger.
Makes sense.
And I think +2 evasion is probably stronger than reroll 6.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, because it gets around a lot of stuff. It's the indomitable save of conquest. The thing that I like about this is there's less gradient, so it's a lot more approachable. I think that each one of these has less things stacked on it, so more obvious. Like you're not like, oh, you get plus charge and then shockwave and this, and then people forget half of it in the game. And then the last thing is, and you and I have talked about at length on this. I don't know if it's all been on camera, but one thing is if you weren't in elite tier, like if you weren't really good and played the army a lot of the units in Wadroon were overcosted because they were costed as if you could be hitting these triggers. Yeah. And I think with these being more straightforward to balance, I think it'll bring it more together, which is if you're still a savvy player, I think there are things here that you can take advantage of. But it does feel like it makes it more approachable for a newer player, so it's not so much 4D chess, which I think is an important part about this faction.
I do think something like Blooded will get... I'll keep it for like individual units. I have certain units in mind with some of these battle cry chants, but yeah, that's the core of it. The other thing that I'm going to mention just before we get into it, this is no longer the only way that you spend these tokens. Certain units have their own chants that you can spend on. They replace these effects. So when you chant the battle cry, if you have one of these special chants, you can chant, let's say you have 3 famine tokens. You can either chant famine, or you can spend those tokens to chant your unit-specific battle cry. And then we will talk about those. Also, the Fanatic rule is gone, and so the Chosen of Conquest have add-on effects to these chants. So like a Chosen of Conquest, I'm going to spoil it right now. Chosen of Conquest, when they chant, they get whatever bonus they're getting from Conquest. So every single time it's going to be the tier 1 and tier 2. So +2 March, +2 Evasion, and they get a third action. They still have that, but it's not like universally any Fnatic unit gets it. Only Chosen of Conquest get that extra effect.
Which also is good because it allows those to be balanced as if they have those as an option, and you don't have to be like, well, Braves need to be pointed because they might be running with 3 action. Okay. Yeah, I think that's probably a better game state.
Yes. Next page, please. All right, these they're all effectively the same rule. They're saying if your warlord follows a cult, then you can take Chosen of that cult as their mainstay choices, which is I think I like it a lot. We only have the Chosen of Conquest out right now, but Chosen of Death are, as of the day that we're recording, up for pre-order. And so I think that's going to be pretty interesting. I need more time playing and thinking on it. Conquest is still a valuable enough thing in general that I think that your warlord is almost always going to be Conquest anyways.
Yeah.
I haven't actually looked at the new Chosen of Death stats to see how they changed, if they changed at all. So, like, when those come out, I'm not sure if they're going to be good enough where you're like, oh, I'll take 2 of these as mainstay instead of all of the advantages that Conquest gives you. I think you probably still want every character that you can make Conquest to be Conquest. And actually, they changed the items, and I didn't look too closely at them, so maybe you can't give characters Conquest as freely anymore. Maybe we're going to learn something together, folks.
Yeah, and this is not directly related to Wadroon specifically, but one thing I've noticed looking at the Nords, and I hope they continue this out, is the way they, in the formatting, cover the keywords like this, right? I've seen this in stuff like that. And I think that is a very, like before they used to say war, whatever, but I think having creating a consistent keyword system that works for all, it makes the rules approachable for everyone.
Yes.
Which is great, because I want more people getting in and playing Conquest.
Yep. Next page. Supremacy abilities. Okay. Matriarch Queen changed a lot. When they chant, they, like passively, this is passive. When you chant with a regiment, it becomes unbroken. Used to be that was like level 1 war only. Making it like a passive of Matriarch Queen makes it so that any chant can do it at any tier. I think that's useful, but also the timing. Oh, actually, what I will say is if a regiment is broken, you probably, this is super powerful because if a regiment is broken, the turn that it chants, you want it to be unbroken.
Yeah.
You always want that. Also, once per game, all regiments on the battlefield get +2 command stand for the purposes of seizing objective zones. And I don't know how I feel about that one. So you declare it during the supremacy phase, and then for that phase, like, it doesn't have like a non-light rider like the chanting itself does. So there's like a world where you use this as soon as you can, basically, and you score a couple early game points with light regiments.
I was going to say this feels like a thing you do turn 2 when you have a bunch of guys taking yours and
yeah, you get ahead by like 4 or 5 points.
Correct.
And like that's the use of it. And in that context, this is one of those like this is a super hot take because I need to play and actually like experience this more. I don't think I like this supremacy ability that much. I don't think that I would build a list around this. I think that the broken benefit, unbreaking benefit is pretty good.
Yeah.
I think that being able to score with lights is pretty good, but I don't think that it's build your army around very good. I know that I'm contradicting myself a lot. I basically have just said that this is super powerful, but I also don't think it's powerful enough.
So previously, while you noodle this, the Matriarch Queen's old supremacy ability was the ability on draw effect to give Fnatic to a unit with innate.
But now Fnatic's gone.
Correct.
That was a very good one.
Correct. So I think I'm going to go the opposite way and I'm going to use your own words against you.
Okay.
So I think the broken is good because it allows you to, even if on level 2 chant, which adds the +1 in a majority of cases, like you can use this to bring the something and immediately start scoring and scoring better, or like you can chant something low to get back in the game, or get 2 actions, right? Like you could chant aim, or sorry,
Inspire, then
and
Clash.
then Clash,
Yeah.
which is good. And I think the second thing is a very boring but useful, which is there, especially like if you can on turn 2 blow the
You have Raptor Riders.
yeah, and you just score a bunch of stuff.
19,
it's
20 inches
probably
up the board.
Correct, especially where a lot of games have like score 1, score 2, score this. Like if you can set something and you can get like 8 points just straight up because you can control like 4 objectives.
Yeah.
I think his power is just not as fun as Fnatic, where you're like, that unit can go ape. But yeah.
Chieftain Supremacy ability, Concentrated Assault. It's a cool name. Range of the Crushing Force. So Chieftain has 2 special rules. You need to talk about these in context of this, so I'm going to skip ahead a little. Chieftain's Crushing Force rule is that infantry regiments, tribes regiments.
Yep.
I think it's tribes regiments. Within 10 inches of them get impact +2 when they charge. Cool ability, way more useful when it covers the entire board instead of 10 inches. They also have Tempo, which gives friendly tribe infantry regiments Vanguard in the warband for that guy. Giving it to an entire army of infantry as a passive ability is pretty good. Imperial Officer, at least as we know at the time of this writing, like the old version effectively, is you can pick 2 infantry units per round to give Vanguard to, which is a powerful ability in my opinion.
Yeah.
Having every infantry unit in your army is pretty good. The impact, sorry, I'll let you talk and then I'll go back to the impact part.
I was going to say, I used to take Shaman back in the early days of Nords when all he did is give 2 units the Vanguard, right? Because it was so impactful. So getting on your army here feels very valuable.
Yeah, and for someone like me who loves to play lots of Blooded, it feels cool to have a bunch of Blooded march. It's something that I've actually wanted on Blooded for a while, like some capacity to give them Vanguard, because having Blooded 18 inches up turn 1, or no, they only have move 5 now, 16 inches up turn 1 is a lot better than having them up 11 inches up turn. Well, not turn 1, but the first turn they're out. I think you know what I mean. Yeah. Anyways.
This feels a lot more interesting than the old, before everyone in the army got Shock.
That was an insanely powerful ability. Like this, I feel like this is a big downgrade. Honestly,
I like Vanguard a lot, so maybe it's I'm just shaded.
Shock is +1 Clash when you charge, and it stacks with Inspired. So the net gain when you charge is +2 Clash.
Okay, so
which is huge. So you go from Clash 2 to Clash 4, which is why. And to be clear, the old Foot Chieftain, which is what this is, only gave it to infantry and monsters. But like a Tantor, who's always inspired, going from Clash 2 to Clash 4, huge. Apex Predator, getting up to Clash 4 before Inspire, so it gets reroll 6s. Pretty nice. Like hunting packs going from whatever Clash. So like, but that was, that hunting packs are cavalry, so that was the other chieftain that impacted them. But anyways, the +2 impact hits, I think, is a cute thing. I don't think +2 impact hits on most of our regiments are super huge. Hold on, I'm gonna look something up real quick. I have the PDF open on my. I need to see the actual full rule real quick to see if.
Okay,
it's any of the tribes regiment. Oh no, it's infantry tribe regiments.
Yeah.
So you can't give Warbred +2
because they're not a
impact. Yeah. They already have 2 base.
Brutes, right. Yeah.
And I don't know how interesting it is for Blooded.
I was gonna say Blooded or
even Braves.
Yeah.
Like
because they don't have any base impact. So essentially, what you're doing is going from nothing to like 6, which is like fine.
Right, and that's kind of the problem.
The reason Shockwave worked is because you could double down on the big things, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I get that. I do think on the other end, though, I will say I like that these supremacies. This is just going to go back to the keywords in a different way. I like the fact that these are more targeted on who they get, or who gets affected, because I think that helps create army identity. And I think what I like about this feels really good for the vanguard for all the infantry. So if you're running many
Yes.
infantry, you get up the board. I do agree with you. The 2 impact on units is just like cool. If I charge, I get like 6 extra hits. It's not going to be enough at the volume. And it's not going to be
Well, 6 extra.
specialized.
The problem is a lot of Wadron stuff is like Clash 2.
Correct.
A lot of stuff that this can benefit, like a lot of tribes infantry, like veterans would be Clash 3. That would be pretty cool. Thunderous Assault for the Thunder Chieftain. While that character stand is on the battlefield, it's a passive ability. Speakers regiments gain the shock special rule. Speakers is... So I'm not too familiar with who all has the keyword, but I know that like Blooded don't have speakers. I think all the mounted units have speakers, and then hunters have speakers. So like Raptor Riders with shock feels pretty good. Thunder Riders with shock, also pretty good. I think like Tauntors and Apex Predators get shock with this, but like your basic infantry aren't going to get shock. But you can take an army of like 2 units of Thunder Riders, 2 Apex Predators, some Hunters for range support, and like they don't care whether they have shock or not. I think that this is pretty good if Thunder Riders are good.
Yeah, and
which was a big problem with the old one. Thunder Riders were like good in very specific circumstances, but you had to like invest a lot into them, and I think only 1 regiment was good.
And the old rule was friendly cav and brutes get shock. So this feels pretty analogous. Obviously, when we get
the fact that monsters get shock with this is actually a huge buff over that, because Warbred were the only brutes.
Yeah, and going back to your previous point, I like this because the Thunder Chieftain is the thing that makes the brutes better. Where before the Chieftain gave shock in the old rules, the Chieftain gave shockwave to the monsters, which is like, this feels like better for army identity, because like if you want to run the big dinos, you get the dino guy, and then he brings his dino buddies, and assuming they're all speakers, hell yeah. And I think that's better for our army identity. And it also helps build the things. Yet once again, like you just say the thing is like, I like this guy, he does this, I should recruit speakers. That's like a very 101 let's get in the game mechanic.
Yep, Predator and Mounted Predator, they share a supremacy ability. It used to be plus 3 inches to charge with light regiments. Well, unstoppable, so reroll charges with all regiments. Plus 3 inches to charge with light regiments. Plus 1 inch to charge with medium regiments, and like plus 1 impact hit or something with heavy regiments.
Yes.
And so it was very weird because you basically popped it turn 2 or 3 to do like a 20-inch Raptor charge. And Raptors weren't good, so you can imagine how good that was. Now, I think it's interesting. I don't think it's good. When you destroy an enemy regiment, you get an extra cult token. And if you destroy an enemy regiment within range of an objective zone, you get 2 chant markers. Cult token. Chant markers. So, chant acceleration is good. I don't think it's supremacy ability good.
Yeah, unless you have ways of very reliably killing stuff mid-game where literally every activation you're just rolling chants.
Yeah,
I don't think it has the tempo. If they're deadly enough where you can literally be rolling, be like, I got cleave 1 on this guy, we're going to roll that. That's going to put 2 things forward. Now activate this guy. He chants, plus these 2, now he gets... Like, that's the only way I feel this really, like, racks up. Otherwise, like you said, it also feels like if they just spike a little bit on their defense, you're like, well... You got nothing.
Yeah, this is one of those things. I feel like I need to play a dozen games specifically with a list built around this to see how it works, because I do see a world where like if it pops off mid to late game, like it could be really powerful because it gives you the ability to effectively chant every single activation as long as you are destroying things. Like, okay, you start the round with 3 tokens, you activate Raptor, or 2 tokens, you activate Raptor Riders. They get the 3rd token, they charge, they destroy an enemy on an objective. You now have 2 tokens. Next card activates, adds a token. You've now got 3 tokens. They chant, they kill a regiment, then 2, and it like perpetuates like that. I think if you can make that happen, that's good. But I'm not sure if that's a reasonable thing to expect to happen.
Correct. And
I
also
don't think W'adrun are killy enough into many armies to do that.
And I think it incentivizes bad behavior for
Yeah.
players where it's going to be like, I want to almost kill him and almost kill them and almost kill them. And you're not actually gaining the action economy because you're not
Right.
moving. So you can set up one wombo combo round, which like maybe they have it, but feels like you're going to be letting things live a lot longer than they should to set up that wombo combo turn.
Yeah, and I would almost think that no one would actually like fall for that example that you just gave, just because like you don't need chance to kill almost dead regiments.
No, but I'm saying so that you could kill something to give the next. I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
So, you're saying like just start with one to key off the sequence.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. I don't think the chants are powerful enough.
That's
where like you could do something like that. I think you would need to have some like weakened across the board.
Yeah.
I don't think like even at full strength, fully chanted up, like a Tantor is going to. Well, that's probably a bad example because Tantor probably is the one that is going to do it.
That or Apex, right?
Right.
The two things that can.
So maybe if you build the two Apex like Tantor list, then each of those like can chain into each other. No, okay, I'm done speculating on this one.
So the one thing I'll just say is, yet once again, I always have this problem with supremacies that require a lot of key ups. Like let's go back to the matriarch queens. Every infantry just getting Vanguard is just like
that's chieftain.
Chieftain is just like that's good all the time, right?
Yes.
Like you know what I mean. You are 100% getting value. This feels like one of those things where some games someone's going to be running a lot of MSU and you're going to be able to pop this off, and then you're going to hit like a big block of spires or healing spires, and this is just going to not pop off, and you're going to kind of have a dead supremacy. So that's my thing. Like you said, I think it warrants play.
Yeah. Sign of Conquest. He basically hasn't changed from his. He got a little bit of an upgrade at one point. I think 2.0, maybe 1.5. But each time you draw a command card, you can instead just search your command stack, play whatever you want. This one's not. To be clear, this one's not passive, so it functions like every other supremacy game ability. Like the core rule for supremacy ability is you activate it once per game in the supremacy phase. So that's how this one works. Once per game, you don't stack your cards effectively. You just draw whatever you want whenever you want. And every chant marker that you add to the sequence is conquest instead of the cult of the thing that it normally is. I think that's an interesting ability, and I do think having that kind of completely adaptive card draw mechanic is very powerful, and I think just getting conquest tokens for a turn is very powerful. But I think Shock and Vanguard are probably better. Because I think this one is prone to a lot of error. I think this one is prone to you not recognizing the turn where you should pop it.
I'm also going to say the most brave but controversial thing. This is an antithesis to a round time at a tournament. I worry that you're going to say, I'm going to do this. And then it's going to be like, okay, move my turn, your turn. You're like...
Yeah, like what's going to be optimal?
What is optimal? And then it's going to be like, game round's over, and you're like, cool, I played 6 rounds. I worry. Like the right player and the right thing who knows how to take best advantage. I feel the people who are looking best initially are the people who are going to want to basically be able to cover their thing, and I worry it's going to be a trap for long round times.
Yep, I think you're wrong on that, because anyone who's going to do that is also going to take 3 hours to make their initial command stack anyways. They're going to... It's actually going to save that kind of person time, because they are going to be less worried. Because when you don't get to reactively choose, they are going to panic and be like, oh, should it be this one or this one first? This one or this one first? This one or this one first? And they might agonize that with decision paralysis. Whereas, like, especially as the turn goes on, you are getting less and less choices. And, like, you feel a little more comfortable, because you're like, I can compensate for any problems later on.
Like I said, this is the one.
Yeah.
This can be my thermonuclear. This can be my what's it called? Chernobyl tank.
Too long for tournaments. This is the Horde army of tournaments. All right, we've been talking too long about non-unit things. Let's talk about units. Matriarch, Queen, draw event, heals 4, pretty good. Indomitable, pretty good. Does not have access to Conquest. So it used to be where it says Stoic, it used to be that you had the choice of being Stoic or like something of Conquest. Voice of Conquest, and that would make you Conquest. It is very interesting that she does not have the option to be Conquest. We'll see what masteries and artifacts enable that. She's also a tribes character, for as much as that matters. Her warband, as far as I can tell, is the same. So she has pretty much not changed except for possibly no access to Conquest.
Yep.
So we can scroll on past her. Maybe her points changed. No, still 100. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Chieftain. We've talked about a lot of his stuff. He's got Flurry built into his profile, and when you take him, his veterans get Flurry as well, which is pretty cool. Veterans with Flurry are nice. We've talked about Crushing Force. We've talked about Tempo. His warband, he's got Slingers now. He did not have Slingers before. He has Slingers now. I think that's really good. Slingers have always been a military arm of the Wadroon, and so it makes sense that they're finally under the military commander rather than the farmer. No, the Predators were never farmers. But yeah, this is, I do think that there's merit to taking like 2 veterans and 2 slingers, or 1 veteran, a larger block of veterans, like a unit of blooded and slingers, especially if this guy's your warlord, because they all get Vanguard at that point. I think slingers with Vanguard are going to be scary.
Oh, yeah. Because they're engaged sooner.
Yeah. So, like right now, slingers have access to Cult of Conquest triple actions, which makes them extremely scary. Spoiler alert, they do lose that. I think Vanguard compensates for that a little bit. Although, I guess as I say this, there's also the risk of vanguarding yourself too far forward. And basically why veterans or why slingers are so dangerous right now is because they have the ability to like march, shoot if they want to. And that first march is 10 inches. So they can like literally walk 17 inches forward and then shoot you. And so there's like nothing in the game that can shoot them first. Whereas if you vanguard forward, you are giving your opponent that opportunity to shoot first.
Yeah.
I think slingers are overall in a worse place than before, and many would say that is a correct place for them to be right now. Thunder Chieftain, let's scroll down.
Last thing. Chieftain was able to get Voice of Conquest and Stoic, and I don't see either.
He doesn't have either?
Correct, yep.
Okay, we need to move on. Yeah, we need to get to the... Oh, he also has like 1 extra attack, right? Nope, he does not.
Yep.
Okay, we need... one thing that you might want to notice, now that we're 3-4 characters in, no movement stat. Yes, all of these move the same speed as their regiments. Let's scroll down. Let's look at the Thunder Chieftain. Okay. I don't think he's changed at all.
Lost 10 points.
Oh, he's 10 points cheaper.
10 points cheaper.
Nothing else. I guess +1 attack. +1 attack.
10 cheaper and +1 attack seems
That's
fine.
a pretty good, but he...
Braze, Blooded Thunder, Vets.
No, okay.
Contour,
yeah, he hasn't really...
Yeah, no, he's just 1 extra lost and
they made him a little more appealing to take, and then this plus his Supremacy ability makes him a lot more appealing than his previous state. I think you take this guy... We'll have to look at Thunder Riders before I make this assessment, so let's scroll down. Predator. So he used to have the ability to choose between Fire and Advance and I forget what it's called, but it would block, it would stop obscuring terrain from negating any of your attacks, or I guess reducing your number of attacks for the entire regiment. I think that only having Fire and Advance is kind of boring, but I don't think he changed otherwise. He still has Slinger access, so it's not like they took Slingers away from him to give to...
If you built an army around that, you don't lose anything.
Right. So, yeah, he's Speaker's keyword. Cool.
No Voice of Conquest, no Stoic.
Oh yeah. He also doesn't have at this point. I'm just assuming that no characters have that, and Stoic is just a matriarch queen special rule now.
Yeah, just calling out. It's
fair.
a change.
That's fair. It is a change. Mounted Predator. Honestly, I never looked at this guy. Oh, friendly speakers regiments in this warband ignore hindering, dangerous, broken, and perilous terrain.
That's
Thunder Riders are they're not in this warband. Oh man. But his warband is exclusively, if I'm correct on this, speakers regiment. So like hunting pack, ignoring, hindering, terrain. No, they weren't really affected by that anyways. None of those have impact. I guess Tantor and Apex Predator like to charge through terrain. I don't know how much dangerous, broken, or perilous terrain I usually see. Basically none. I see hindering all the time.
You and I use this, right? Because hindering is water. Is water?
No. Hindering is normally force. That's the one that stops you from inspiring non-light regiments when they charge through it, and it takes away impact hits. So I see that a lot. I don't actually see perilous, broken, or dangerous, and I believe dangerous and perilous are possible wounds that you take when you move or charge through them, and I think broken that's the only one that like reduces movement speed.
Correct. Yes.
I think.
And quick thing. This warband significantly different than old mounted.
He used to be able to take like infantry stuff, right?
Punching.
Yeah.
Like
this is mounted and monsters only,
which is I think thematically better. I think it fits the like
more specialized.
Correct. I like narratives expressed through rules, and this guy's he's mounted, so he's going to bring a bunch of mounted people with him. Love it. Love to see it.
But hunting packs and raptor riders are already light. So they don't care about hindering, and I guess that's real. Yeah, his ability's weird, but I guess if you're bringing Raptor Riders, you might as well do this.
Yep.
I don't know if you bring Apex Predator through hindering still pretty. I'm gonna think on this. Let's scroll down.
So
we got
a few things. 10 points cheaper, 1 extra attack. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, slightly better.
All right, this is a brand new guy.
Love to
I can't even unpack. Like, okay. His regiment gets to perform a free volley action when he flies over regiments. Like, they do hits.
Yeah,
he's the Quattro Rider.
Yeah,
he's the Quattro
He's
Rider.
a monster, so this thing's going over.
He acts on his own. He's a regiment in addition to himself. He cannot be a warlord, and he needs to have, like, something in his warband, so he can't, like, go around solo. He can't purchase artifacts or masteries, so you what you see is what you get. He's interesting. He's got a lot of shots and wounds. I don't know. I think he's cool. I think he can't. Oh, he's medium, huh? He's medium.
So there's a few things.
There is a lot to consider with this guy.
So while you grok this, I'm going to say something. It seems like there's a design space right now where PB wants every faction to have a monster-sized character.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, with
so I think this
cedar.
Yeah, so I think it feels like they're trying to scale this out. I think it's cool because it also gets more, like you said, take a quad, put a character on it, or make it slightly special, and you got a character.
Ooh, here's the most interesting thing. All speakers monster regiments in the army gain a specific chant. So all of your dinosaurs get to shriek, where you discard at least 2 markers of the same cult, and you get terrifying +1.
I love it.
I like that a lot. You still need 3 markers to you need 3 markers to chant at all, but you can discard all 3 of them, or 2 of them if 2 of them are the same cult.
Yep.
And then you can get +1 terrifying, which can be very useful into certain targets.
Yep.
I would kill for that against like a lot of Dwegum units.
Yeah.
Especially when he's already got a native cleave 1. That's pretty good. I like the brutal impact 2 when you charge in the flank or rear. Interesting. The free volley action.
I was going to say that's
interesting.
Nice. Yeah.
One thing to point out, the core there is going to be a core rules change. We'll talk about it in a different video.
Yeah.
That caps units at 3 actions. I don't know if there's going to be any exceptions to it, and we don't know if like fluid formation is the same. but technically, even if you perform the free volley action, like if you fluid formation and free volley, then you only have one action left to do. If all of those things like still are things that consume actions, and that 3 action cap doesn't have any like exceptions for like fluid formation or something. So it's a little weird. It looks like he can do a lot of actions, but right now my understanding of it is that he would probably usually have to choose between fluid formation or the free volley. And then he could like do a move and a charge or a charge and a clash in addition to either of those things. I don't think you should expect him to like fluid formation, face something, volley, then charge and clash, or march and clash.
I'm gonna give the Antarctica take of this video, which is I think this guy's cool. We'll see if he long term stands up. I think he's pointed at a point that seems reasonable, comparing him to say like a Jotnar who has a free attack or free spell.
Yeah.
I think thematically the Predatory Shriek is very cool.
That he gives the entire army.
That's what I'm saying. That's really
so
cool. That he modifies everyone, and then now you got these shrieking things that are throwing terrifying all out when you want. So I like that.
I think that gets Apex Predators up to terrifying 3, which is huge.
Which is sick as shit. So yeah, I like this.
Yeah,
very cool take.
10 points. I think I take him instead of an Apex Predator.
Yeah,
I think that's pretty reasonable. I'm gonna take at least 1 unit of hunting packs anyways. And so
this doesn't even have to be a warlord to give everyone Predatory Shriek. So you
no,
can use
correct.
Thunder, you can use
he
the Thunder
can't be your warlord at all.
Okay, you're right. But yeah, you can take the Thunder Chief and then this thing to back up. That's sick as shit.
Oh wait, that means that this guy, being a speaker's monster, would get shock.
Yeah, which would then capitalize with the brutal impact too. So
there's a lot of stuff going. So like, yeah, you take a Thunder Chieftain warlord,
so good.
And so it's actually kind of crazy that you can take this guy 1 hunting pack and 1 Apex Predator, because like, I would, like I said, I would probably take this guy in place of an Apex Predator and still have like my 2 Apex Predators, one of them now being the Winglord Predator, like taken care of in 3 total models. Like I don't have to pay extra points for a character really. I don't have to like buy extra mainstay. Like I don't need to take 2 hunting packs to take that like second Apex Predator. I don't need to consider, oh, my Predator needs to join a unit of hunters in order for me to then take a unit of cheaper hunting pack to unlock my 2 Apex Predators. I think that this is a pretty nice warband, and yeah, I think I'm gonna see myself playing him quite a bit. Let's move on to the Scion of Conquest, the last one. He is more priestly, and he is a Cult of Conquest, even if he's not your warlord. Wait, maybe any warlord can be conquest. That's something that I'm going to have to ADR in once I find out. So here's space for ADR.
I find out in a little bit. I look it up. So like, just wait.
Okay, he hasn't really changed. Maybe points cost? No, not points cost.
No, stats all the same.
Yes,
Let's go. The hiring pool is.
I like that you call it a hiring pool. They should call it the hiring pool.
Yeah, no, it looks
okay.
Yeah.
The spells have changed. We'll talk about that when we get to them.
That's a bigger thing. So keep rolling.
Yeah, keep rolling. All right, cult artifacts. Roar of the Tribe. Roar of the Tribe used to be very expensive and hard to use. There was a lot of confusion about what it was supposed to do, and even at its most optimal interpretation, like even the devs like went back and forth on what it was supposed to do. It allowed you to spend 1 token to chant. And at one point, the devs had said that you could even chant tier 3 chants with that. With just 1 token. Which seems powerful, but it was only once per game.
Oh.
And it was like 40 points for it.
45, yeah.
45.
Okay.
And then at like semi-recently, the devs started saying, oh no, you can only chant chants that you already had access to. So if you weren't Fnatic, you can't chant your tier 3 with 1 token. And so like that made the 40 points go pfft. And so I think the devs got enough like back and forth because the community obviously was like very confused about that. I think they got sick and tired of it and completely changed it. So 30 points to give Blessed when you chant tier 2 for the entire regiment that you're in. That's pretty good.
I like
Blessed is a good rule.
Blessed's good, and then you can kind of control when it goes off.
Yeah.
Talk to other stuff. Yeah, I like this.
Okay, now imagine a world where you chant Conquest, tier 2, you get +2 evasion, and then you Blessed with... I mean, 2 evasion, even with rerolls, isn't that great. But also, with a unit of Blooded, they're throwing out 19 attacks with an MSU plus whatever character following the Cult of Conquest is in it. 19 Clash 3 with Inspire, like rerollable from Blessed, is a lot. With War at making them cleave 1, that's pretty good. 30 points, it's a nice spend. The fact that it's not like once per game, very good.
That's why I like
If
this.
it
You
was
can-
once per game,
trash.
terrible.
This is good because it's
Consistently getting Blessed in addition to your benefits. Pretty nice. Death's Gaze. Used to give +2 impacts and Glorious Charge.
for 40 points.
For 40 points. Now, it's Cult of Death only. It used to maximum synergy with Cult of Famine, which I think was I always thought was funny.
Yeah.
Now that it's Death only. So giving you Impact 3. Okay. I don't know. I didn't really like it before, and I'm not sure if I particularly like it
got
now.
cheaper.
It got cheaper, but I also don't know how impactful of a rule Impact 3 is. Scars of Endikar. I believe that used to give +1 evasion.
+1 evasion for 40 points to the character.
40
No,
points?
sorry. The regiment this character stands attached to.
That's right.
+1 to maximum of 3 for 40.
Yes.
Which, as we talked about, evasion is like the invulnerable, so +1 seems
pretty good.
interesting. Yeah.
Now it's when you charge someone on an objective zone, you gain Terrifying. I kind of like that for the exact same reasons that I like the Monster Chant one. Like, if I'm going to be charging someone on a zone, especially, all right.
This is interesting.
You don't have to chant to get that or the Death's Gaze, I just realized.
Yep.
Roar of the Tribe is locked behind chanting, but I mean, that's also a more powerful rule.
Yeah.
But, okay.
What's interesting about this is the Terrifying on the Wing Lord and this artifact, the Scars, is uncapped. So there's worlds where you can kind of like tear these off and pop off, like you said.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a world. No, so I'm going to need to reread the rules and see if I missed something, like going back to that ADR time. I think I missed something that changed about the war chants. And so I'm wondering if you can have a famine character riding a Conquest Apex Predator. I think we'll find out when we get to the Apex Predator.
Yep.
But like Apex Predator with the Shriek ability, and if you can get up to Terrifying 4 when you charge an enemy regiment on an objective zone, Nelly, that's going to be good. Horn of Ronan is completely new.
Because it used to be Bloody Horn, it looks like that's
Oh,
gone.
okay.
Bloody Horn was 30 points. Within 8 inches, this character stands may reroll their charge. Now it's 30 points. Cav units with character stands that's currently attached gain Chant of Cult of War 2. They also gain Trample +2.
Trample +2, only with cavalry. You have to be attached to it. You have to have Cult of War. I think Raptors with Cult of War are funny. I think that Raptors with Cult of War Trample are pretty funny.
I was gonna say because they can get up there quick. And
Yeah, because they're like 5 attacks with cleave, 5 attacks with flurry. You give them cleave 1, and then you give them trample, and like,
I like it.
that's pretty good.
For 30
I think that's pretty good. I think that's pretty good. Okay, Beads of Death. Tenacious 1. It used to give Tenacious. Tenacious 1 is a new thing. Tenacious now has, I don't know what 1 represents, if that is going to be like once per round you can stop a point of damage, or I don't know what Tenacious 1 is going to mean. We don't have the core rule for that yet.
Tenacious now has a value. Core rules will need to define. We're out to lunch on this until we know more.
Yep. Hide of the Silent Hunter, 15 points. It used to give you Bastion 1 on a Predator only. Now, apparently anyone can take it, and it gives you Opportunists. I think Opportunists, if you've listened to these videos before, you've probably heard me mention that defensive rules, defensive draw events suck. Draw events, spells, etc., just because of the tempo cost and activating them.
Yep.
I like Opportunists a lot more than I like Bastion 1, let me tell you what.
It's 10 points cheaper, which is nice, right?
Yeah.
25.
So I'm going to say something. When abilities change like this drastically, I don't think the points costs.
You're right. Fair.
Because, like, obviously Opportunist has a completely different value
So,
than
sorry, I'll
Bastion.
say this. I feel Bastion isn't great because it hurts tempo.
Yeah,
You paid 25 points for jacking up your tempo.
that's true.
Where here you're paying 15 points for Opportunist. If you're running a very cav heavy list, because there is no attachment here that has to be infantry. So if you put this on Raptor Rider character,
Raptor Riders
or,
already have Flurry.
Okay, fair. If you put this on Thunder Riders,
That's the only cavalry unit that you would be able to put them on.
yeah. Then if you can,
But those are move 6, so they might as well be infantry. I see where you're going with this,
yeah.
but it doesn't actually apply to the... This is me putting faction expertise and, like, punching you in the face with it.
It's okay.
Like, what you're saying is correct for other armies with real cavalry, but it doesn't apply to this army. This is going on an infantry squad or Thunder Riders, and you're going to make that move 6 work to get that Opportunist.
Correct. Yeah.
Better with Vanguard. Chieftain doesn't have double time anymore. Chieftain used to have double time, and I did not see that on his rules. Okay, sorry. Death's Reach, +1 attacks, and cleave for a character. So a lot of characters, it looked like they were sitting on 6 attacks. So 7 attacks and cleave +1. So Chieftain is going up to cleave 3 with flurry and 7 attacks.
And if you do the chant that gives +4, you're just like wrecking face.
+4 what?
An additional +1 cleave.
So that gives you cleave 1. And they already have cleave 2 base.
Oh, I thought it was +1.
Yeah.
You're right. It is cleave 1. Yeah.
So
but 3 is still sick.
Yeah, no. Oh, 3,
At
7, cleave 3 attacks with flurry and like clash 3 base. Pretty good. Brood of Angora, they got a lot cheaper. I think it's now more worth it than it was before.
It used to be 25. Now it's 20. So
Oh, I thought it was 40 before. Okay, never mind.
It might have been.
It got a little cheaper, but it's kind of one of the
Brutal Impact 2, Impact 4, same. The character may not purchase the Apex or Taunt Rider Master.
Yeah,
as well.
it's just it's one of those ones where it's like we have Mounted Predator, and like there's some stuff that you can do with like, okay, you give a chieftain it, but yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure if there's jank that you can do with it now.
I'm gonna be. This is if you're a man who likes if you're someone who likes dinos, this lets you run more character dinos, right?
Right, but like you can already run Mounted Predator, and like,
oh, you're right.
Okay,
there's a new one. Yeah,
I think Matriarch Queens can take Raptor Riders in a restricted slot, so like she can join them and like use her heal 4 draw event.
No, I'm with you.
So
maybe there's jank. I'm not seeing it.
Yeah,
5-point deduction doesn't make this good.
Kiss of the Dilosaur. They buffed it. It was probably one of our best artifacts before when it only let you make forced enemies to reroll defense rolls. Now it makes them roll defense and morale rolls again when that character stand does it. For the same price.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, so you put this on a Predator. If you can still access the marksmanship mastery, like... And now imagine...
Then you have them shriek, I guess.
Yeah, hold on. I'm going to look something up. Chieftain. They can only artifact... Okay, they can only buy a single artifact. Some characters in other armies can purchase 2 artifacts. So I was like, if you can do Kiss the Dilosaur and Death's Reach, which... is Death's... Wait, hold on. Can you scroll up?
To what?
I just want to see the heading of this section. Okay, Death's Reach is an armor.
Yeah.
Which... I always thought Death's Reach was a... Oh, wait, no, but... Oh, that's Predator only.
Yeah.
I'm an idiot. You cannot get a 7 attack cleave 3 chieftain. Okay, all right. Tribal Spear. If you're in an objective zone, the entire regiment gets +1 attack. Kind of cool.
Yep.
I think we can move on. That's all we need to say. It used to be terrible. It used to be so bad. You gained +1 attack for every marker in the chant sequence. But it's like... Okay, are you saving chant markers for duels? Like, when you're clashing, like, your clashing is when you're mostly using your character. Wouldn't you have rather have just chanted? Like...
People like duels in ways that I don't find useful.
All right, so these are the new masteries. So they are locked to cults now. I don't think that they had any masteries that were locked to cults before. So the conquest masteries. Okay, so this is interesting. That does imply, unless they have generic masteries on the next page, that implies that there is no mastery to give conquest. So maybe only your warlord can be conquest unless they're scion, which goes back to what I was saying. Like, I'm not sure if giving up conquest cults benefits is worth. You might not have as much of a choice, but if your warlord is one of the only people that can be conquest, I think that makes conquest on the warlord even more important. So I think that some of these teachings of non-conquest better be dang good. Okay, every character stand in your entire army gains forward force, which gives the regiment they're attached to flank.
Nice.
That feels like a powerful 30 points.
Nice.
That's going to be hard when your warlord can take, only your warlord who follows conquest can take this. Conquest already has other value in that the token being the best type and it being like kind of the strongest Chan. I think they're making it a really tough sell for me to not pick Conquest from a warlord.
Yeah, 30 points for army for character attached wide flank seems good.
Yeah, the caveat there being that I think Predators already had forward force, so if you're taking a Predator heavy army, this is something where you're like, okay, I've got my Chieftain, I've got my Scion of Conquest, and I've got my Matriarch Queen, and now all three of those have forward force.
Correct.
That feels good.
If you spend 30 points on this, I feel you build around it and you try to get as much juice out of it. You try not to double dip, right?
Okay, for 20 points, when your warlord, oh no, it doesn't have to be your warlord. When your conquest character chance anything at tier 2, you destroy an objective marker within 6 inches immediately. So I hate objective markers.
Oh, this is.
I think I would take this every single time forever, just to have the option of instantly destroying an objective marker, even if it would make me play the game otherwise bad. Like, if it's one of those things where in order to get into the position to actually use it, you need to misplay pretty heavily unless you're like way better.
No, I think that this is actually good because removing objective markers is really annoying. There are certain missions where there's an opponent's objective marker on a zone that you have to kill before you can actually start scoring it. The fact you can move, or that you have to set it up a little bit, but like if you can chant and just blow it up, that feels really efficient.
If you have a conquest character who has enough move speed, either just basically or if they're in a vanguard unit, and you can get up, there's that one mission where you have like the objective marker that you need to destroy on the enemy thing. Yeah. It's called Bulwark, I think. If you can get into range of that, like from the turn that you come on the board, and then you flip a card on your next turn and you just instantly nuke out the objective, I think that's really good and worth it every single time, but that's only one mission.
Yeah.
So, moving on to teachings of famine.
Yeah.
The warlord ability is regiments in the... Infantry Cult of Famine regiments in the army gain vanguard. That is way less interesting than just taking a chieftain warlord.
I was going to say, my brother in Christ, you can just take a chieftain warlord.
Yeah.
And then there's no type modifier. Who can get vanguard? Well, I guess infantry. But this is infantry too!
So it's infantry tribes, right? For the chieftain? Nope, I've got it. Yeah, it's still friendly infantry, the tribes regiments. But
I have to go look at what infantry do not have tribes.
I think that's only hunters. It's hunters and all of the chosen units. Yeah. Or the 3 chosen infantry units. But still, wait, regiments in the Warlord's Warband gain the Cult of Famine battlefield role. Okay, this gets kind of funny if you take a Scion Warlord.
Yeah.
Oh no, but he has to be Cult of Conquest.
Yeah.
Okay. Basically, no. I'm trying to think of how to do this in a way. Nope. All right, they thought it through. They thought through what I was thinking. I was trying to gamer brain it and like just break it to give like Chosen of Conquest Vanguard. I don't think you can do it.
Which is
unfortunate. Good. I mean, it's good, but unfortunate.
I'm going to say the fact that I think one thing that you can say uncontroversially is sometimes the rules have had gaps, and I think between the clearer writing and a lot of the keywords, it's done a lot more to make it clear and protect things. Good.
History. That's pretty good. I like it. Once per round, when you chant the battle cry, any of those tokens that you would throw out, you get to keep instead. And they transform into famine.
Oh,
So
cool.
if you find yourself in a situation where you have 2 famine markers and a war marker, and you're like, what am I going to do with this war marker? Why did I ever get a war marker? Then you chant famine tier 1, and then you take that war marker and you replace it with a nice fancy famine token, and then your army can actually use it. And for 10, okay, it's a 10-point fill. You have a character with a spare artifact slot, and you have 10 points to spare.
It's the mastery.
I think that's what you take. Oh, sorry, mastery slot. I think you take that. And I'm gonna give a little spoiler. When we get to the rider masteries, I might be wrong. I'm pretty sure they allow you to take an extra mastery now, anyways. So you've got your Apex matriarch queen. She's famine. We're doing that combo I talked about earlier. I forget what that combo was. What was the There was a famine artifact that was like pretty good.
The famine artifact was the...
Scroll up. Scars of Endikar.
Yes.
The terrifying +1.
Yes.
Okay. And then you give them this thing. All right. That's pretty cool. 10 points, whatever. Authority. Warlord. Warlord of War. You cannot break blooded, brave, and veteran regiments ever. Which I feel like is a good 40 points. I'm not sure if it's 40 points and making your Warlord Cult of War win Conquest has other benefits. But I am interested in that as someone who loves Blooded.
Number 1 blooded lover.
Number 1 Blooded lover right here. Blooded Enjoyer was my Discord username.
Yeah. Yeah, once again, I think there are other ways where if you chant, you unbreak. So there are other ways to kind of get around. Not as good as this. This feels like you have to take war. You have to spend 40 points.
Yeah. Every Thunder Rider regiment in your entire army gaining Hardened 1 is kind of cool. There was an artifact before that let you upgrade 1 regiment to have Hardened 1. The problem was it was basically only worth it to take that 1 regiment, because you would also you would have to invest in Thunder Riders so much that having like a second regiment, you couldn't invest those same things, because it was like a character and it was artifacts and stuff that you can only take 1 of. I think this makes it more appealing to have like 2 MSUs of Thunder Riders, because giving them both Hardened is better than like having 1 that you feel you have to invest into.
Yeah, go super deep.
Yeah.
I like it. And let's trample go off more often. We have 2 places. I like it.
Yeah.
I think people who want to run Thunder Riders will like it.
The teaching of death is
Blood.
Cool. Blood. Every 2 enemy stands you destroy during a charge or clash, you get +1 evasion for the rest of the round. I just said it was kind of cool. That was like me doing That was like a filler word. This actually sucks. This is dumb. This is the dual ability. This is the dual ability, and it's a defensive buff. So it's like, in order to set it up, you have to destroy 2 character stands. You get +1 evasion for the rest of the round. Or sorry, 2 enemy stands. Oh, enemy stand. Is that a JoJo's reference? Excuse me? Anyways. Like, destroy 2 stands, get +1 evasion to a maximum of 3. I'm sorry. And it has to specifically be a Cult of Death regiment?
Yes. I don't think it's good.
Don't know.
But I can't wait till one day we're gonna find someone who takes the supremacy where they kill where they kill 2 things to get the chant and Blooded, and they're like, "Hey, Tablet Gaming," and just like pop off chant after chant, evasion after evasion, and just roll us. And seriously, viewers, prove me right, but I feel this is gambling, and if you take this, you might have an addiction problem to gambling, because this is going to pop off so rarely, and when it pops off, if you're already killing so many units, you don't need the evasion because you're winning.
So this is interesting. I already assumed that the teachings of cult name were restricted to certain cults only.
Yeah.
Cure being
explicitly
Cult of Death?
Now does this mean resilience can go on anyone?
Wait, can it?
They're not typed.
No, resilience is Thunder Chieftain only, so I guess any cult type.
Yeah, so you could be teaching.
And adaptability could be okay.
Sure.
I think that's what that implies, but I don't know. I
implies.
might be reading too much into
No,
it.
it implies. They went to a keyword system for a reason. Those don't have a keyword that type it. I think it's fair to assume
Yeah.
they're everywhere.
Regiment that the character is attached to gains Deadly Blade special rule. For 15 points,
I like it.
giving something like Blooded, which have 6 attacks base, Deadly Blades, I think is pretty cool.
I like it. 15 points
I
feels good.
think that I take that. I think I take a character following Cult of Death that I can put. I think I take a chieftain who has, remember, Cleave 2, Clash 6, or Clash 3, 6 attacks, Flurry base, and he's now got Deadly Blades.
Yeah.
And he's joining a unit of Blooded who also have Deadly Blades, and that's a 230-point unit.
I like,
And, oh, sorry, 245 because of cure cost.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. And then when they
like
chant death, they also get Untouchable, which is a cute little boost. All right, Way of the Speakers. These are the rider masteries. When they select this mastery, they can purchase an additional mastery. So I was right. They can stack.
Yep.
Predators that ride apexes can do free volley actions. I think it's unfortunate that Matriarch Queens don't get any cute little boost. So Scions can ride Drum Beasts, and it increases your spell by 4 inches, but your spell range by 4 inches, which is neat. And Chieftains don't gain anything other than they just hang out on a Tantor.
We love that. 10 points to ride a Taunter. Who would?
Yeah.
I would do it every day in real life.
Yeah, exactly.
But
Yeah,
dinosaurs
10
don't
points.
exist,
All right, next page. Spells. Cacophony. 12-inch range, attunement 4. We finally get a direct damage spell. Scions of Conquest celebrate worldwide, globally? I don't know. I think it's interesting. I don't remember what Cacophony used to do. I think I don't even care what it used to do.
Yeah.
It's cool. I like the option of the direct damage, even if it's not that great. Like, your Priest 6 and its attunement 4. So, like, okay, 4 hits. Cool.
This is a globe for the world. The old one was prevent a unit from resolving draw events.
Oh, that's right.
What?
So that was powerful in certain contexts.
I was going to say very specific. Like, you could be like, trolls, you don't get to heal today. Woo! But a lot of times it's like,
they win priority, and you're like, shucks.
Or it's like, you don't get Bastion, which is like, fine, but would I spend an activation casting a spell that may not go off? Probably not. This is good. I'm gonna use Isaac's. I'm gonna say one thing that Isaac said earlier against him, which is 12-inch range with 1 damage per success is not wildly
okay,
exciting.
but put him on a drum beast, and now he's got 26 wounds.
Correct.
And
So
16-inch range.
So the context before was Sorcerer Kings have this, and the problem is Sorcerer Kings can't take hits at 12 because if you're in 12, you're gonna get charged. If you put it on a drum beast, 1, it gets +4, right, based on that. So it's
that gets
16.
into Dweghom's spell range.
And then the second part is guess what? If you charge a drum beast, like that's a thing that will last.
Yeah.
Like it's not gonna roll over. It also opens with the design space. It's definitely better than the other one. It's an actual option you take.
Yep. Crescendo's the same as before. Dissonance is way better than before. It used to be if you had like extra tokens, you could discard them to like reduce the number of successes that your opponent scored, but it like barely ever mattered, and like it was a bad way to use tokens, and it required you to cast the spell first and then have tokens to store. So this is making it so that whenever people chant battle, like whenever your regiment, or you cast it on a regiment, and then if that regiment chants battle cry, then engaged enemy regiments don't benefit from the inspired special rule. So like what you can do is you can chain activate character into their regiment that is currently engaged.
So you actually have a lot more. I was gonna be like, this feels a little Rube Goldberg-y, but you're 100% right. You just do it, and then you chain activate into it, so it's actually not. You have a lot of control. Yeah, this is good.
Yep.
Non-inspiring is good.
Discordance, I think that this is the same. They might have added scaling. Target regiment cannot see zones until the end of the round. Feels good.
It used to be attunement 3 scaling. It's attunement 4 now.
Okay, so they buffed it. Okay. Cool. Slightly easier to get off. I I like it. It's cool. If I had a Scion, I'd probably find myself casting that quite a bit. Resonance, target in an objective zone. All enemy regiments within range of that gain Decay 2 special rule. This one's a little Rube Goldberg-y because you kind of have to act before the relevant regiments.
Yeah.
And then Decay 2 isn't that great.
No, as someone who when I play Spires, which you can get decay higher, like 2 is, I mean, it's something, but like it's not enough to act as a real deterrent.
I mean, on an MSU, you're doing like 2 damage on average.
Correct,
Which, okay. I mean, that's probably about the same as how much Cacophony is doing, but Cacophony, you don't have to like do the Rube Goldberg of I activate before you, and then I have to wait for you to activate
Also,
and
that
do
does
stuff.
morale damage too.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
Never
so
mind.
that's-
So yeah, I think Cacophony wins a little more.
Yeah, I agree.
Moving on into the actual units. All right, we have been talking for an hour and 15 minutes, and I'm only going to cut like 6 minutes most. I think that we need to try to speed through these.
Yeah, 100%. I was.
Braves gained 1 resolve, gained 1 attack, standard bearer built in, lost bloodlust. They are the tribe's role. They have the option for an aberration now. Aberration doesn't do what you think it does, Mr. Experienced Wadroon player. They changed it, and it's boring now. What aberration does is it allows your unit to add an extra token to the chant sequence when they chant, when they add a token. So you add 2 instead of 1, which is cool. All right, cool. I don't think I'm paying 20 points for it. I have heard that Braves are better than Blooded now. I'm not quite sure that I agree with that. I still have all the same problems that I've always had with Braves, in that I don't think Braves are cool.
Yep. No, I
Very
agree.
deep thoughts. Very deep thoughts.
Like, just looking at very matter of fact, 10 more points from the old one to get +1 attack. That's something you do every day of the week. Other than that, they lose Bloodlust too, which I think some people.
Yeah,
are really
losing
bad
Bloodlust
about.
is big to their advantage. I just think Blooded are cooler. Insert picture of Marge holding a potato. I just think they're neat. Only the potato is blooded.
I will say the one
Yeah.
trick that you lose with losing Bloodlust is you can't Vanguard in for a free move, and then charge or something.
That's true.
Janky.
You
you
can't do that anymore.
Yeah, so probably
Also,
fine.
the +1 resolve for like basically no points is huge. Like
Yeah.
they
No,
used to be resolve 2.
Yeah.
Now resolve 3. Now they're like way better at the objective holder, but now I think they've lost a little bit of their flavor where they're supposed to be like headstrong, like teenagers basically.
Yeah, I think
And now they're as disciplined and as skilled as professional soldiers, aka the Blooded, who have Clash 2 and Resolve 3 as well.
Yeah, I think just like, and I'm going to use this as a segue to the Blooded. I think the problem here is do you want support or do you want to move here for the same cost and almost identical?
So the thing about support, I mean, okay, so they are 5 points cheaper per extra stand, same cost base. If you take, let's say, 5 stands to go with your character.
Yeah.
So you are at 2 extra stands, you're at 200 points for the unit. And you are, oh God, you're making 3 stands at 5 each. So 16 plus 4, you're making 20 attacks.
Yeah.
Versus an MSU at 130 points making 19 attacks. Like,
Yeah.
and then it's like, how much do you value the shield over the evade 1? Is
I-
really what you're looking at there.
Correct. And I think the one thing, this goes into your previous statement, which is if you're able to reliably get off evasion +2 to a max of 2, Braves look better because
That's true. That is true.
They get full value of that.
But
and they have
Conquest
the
is
shield.
so limited now.
Correct. So that's a problem. Is I don't feel you.
Oh, but you don't need to be Conquest Cult to chant Conquest Tier 3. You just need different tokens.
Correct.
Which is not great army building, I think. So never mind. Okay, yeah. I think the use of Braves is kind of, you have the character bunker unit, you take like 5, you might take up to 8 of them.
Mm-hmm.
At which point I think once you get to 8 of them, I think then their support too starts paying dividends. You have your Warlord who is Conquest in that unit, and you are chanting the evade +2. and you're holding an objective in the center with that
Yeah.
unit using evade 2 and defense 3 with shield, defense 2 plus shield. Next unit, veterans. I'm going to look at these guys as if they have flurry because only chieftains can take them, and chieftains give them flurry.
Yeah.
So I'm confused.
You're right. Otherwise, without that, it would make them not. Yeah.
Yeah, so just look at them as having flurry. They have aberrations built into them. So basically, you're paying 40 points for +1 wound and +1 clash over blooded, and 1 less attack. And so if you take the aberration into consideration, you are only paying 20 extra points for those. So, and then you also have flurry and shield. Okay, sorry. I don't know where I started this, but I'm just gonna say my thesis statement.
Yeah.
Veterans, good. If you're taking a foot infantry at 170 points with like the stats that they have, like they're a straight upgrade over blooded.
Correct.
And
They come with the aberrant free.
yeah,
so
I don't
that's a
think
huge
that the aberration is good, so I think it's actually bad that they're making me pay points for it effectively.
Okay. But you get other stuff for it.
But yes, I think that a unit of 3 of them is giving you 18 wounds with shield, which I think is pretty good.
Shield, evasion 1, so you don't have to rely
Yeah.
on something, so you got that backstop.
And
then,
I think you make them war because they also have flurry. You give them cleave, 5 clash 3 cleave, 1 attacks.
Oh, I love
I think it's
that.
pretty cool. And at this point, you're probably like already so invested into kind of infantry that they also have Vanguard too.
Yeah, because
And that's pretty neat.
Yeah.
And they also have impact hits. They also have 2 impact hits when they charge because you're
And
that
they're-
invested into them.
Yeah, and
so,
if you're going there, they're clash 3, so you're hitting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
yeah, so like
If
with
you're-
impact 2, you are hitting 1 impact per stand, which I think is pretty good. I like veterans. I didn't like veterans before. I liked them better in recent days. I like these ones a lot, actually.
Correct. Yeah, if you run infantry, these are the infantry you should be looking
Yes.
at getting if you're going
Yes.
to double down on infantry. Agree.
Hunters. They are 5 points more expensive. Pretty much the same otherwise, except they lost all officer options, and they are now speaker's role. So also, I should know, every unit that has a standard bearer in their box now gets a standard bearer built into it, which is unfortunate because I haven't built standard bearers for every unit of mine. Para Bellum, what are you doing?
You're going to have to buy the
I'm going to have to buy new boxes to add standard
You're
bearers
gonna have
to
to look
my
at the start
buildings.
collecting or the
The first blood, yeah, the
taster or
faction
first blood,
taster.
just so you're like, okay,
Yeah.
time to go into my bucket of sprues.
Yeah, it's just insane that this is happening to me. This is outrageous. This is unfair. I can't believe you've done this.
I'm gonna say
I like hunters.
Yeah, I like hunters. Just to reiterate, they're speakers. A lot of the stuff that hits, I believe, dinos, like they're also speakers. So these guys are going to synergize more with those, and they are going to be with tribes, which feels to be more the infantry list.
Yep. Slingers. These guys, so they do not do the morale anymore. Instead, when they chant, their barrage range is their entire their effective range increases to the full 18 inches. So you're getting torrential fire at 18 inches.
I was going to say, that feels good.
It does feel good.
Yeah.
It does feel good.
I think it double downs on the faction identity of chanting doing things, which I like.
Yes. There's still volley 3, which is very good because it does mean that if you can make them conquest, which seems a lot harder than before, and so I think you have to take like a warlord predator in order to get conquest slingers, which I don't think is good because I don't like the warlord, the supremacy ability of the predator. But if that is truly the only way to get conquest on a non-sign of conquest, then you have to do that. You get the plus 2-inch march on your first activation. Because they're volley 3, you're already hitting like good enough. Basically, you move forward with your first action 8 inches. You get 18 inches away. You're doing torrential fire. That is going to outrange most threats in the game except for like longbowmen. Because like it's effectively 26-inch threat range, which is really good.
They were good before. They're good now.
Yes.
I think they're good in a different way.
Also, as a note, that increases them from Barrage 3 to Barrage 4 because they're in effective range at 18 inches. So like,
so minimum stance is going to be 13, right? 4 per plus 1 for leader.
correct. Yes, you're going to be making 13 shots with an MSU, which isn't like a lot, but you hit 6 of them, and so Torrential Fire turns that into 9 of them.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good from the distance that we're talking about. Like that's you kill like enemy mercenary crossbowmen and stuff from safety with that, and then the rest of your army moves forward.
Yep.
They are tribes, which
Synergizes more with the infantry.
gives them the
blades and
vanguard.
whatever. Yeah.
I mean, you're not going to be charging with them anyways because only 4 attacks in Clash 2. Hunters are actually the ones that are good at charging because they have 5 attacks in Clash 2. But yeah. Chosen to Conquest, they are very expensive. They are one of the only sources of natural cleave in the army. And they get 3 actions. I think that every army wants 1 to 2. Because your Warlord can be Conquest, Conquest has all the advantages that I've talked about. When your Warlord is Conquest, you can take 2 of these as mainstay in their warband. I do think that you are taking these guys. I think you're taking 2 of these as your mainstay in your Conquest Warlord's warband. And I think you are taking that triple action literally every opportunity you take because 3 actions is extremely good.
Yep. Yeah, so they are not they are cults, they're not tribes, they don't synergize with any of that. For just straight up comparison to the previous version, they're 20 points cheaper. They have 1 extra movement. They lose 1 wound. That's the difference.
Yeah.
So I think you take it. Like you said, it's got the cleaves.
Yep. Chosen of Death.
Question, when we do hot takes, we don't look at unreleased models.
Chosen of Death are on pre-order.
I was going to say, I want to cover these.
Those are valid, yeah.
And then
I was going to skip Chosen of Famine and
Okay,
War.
I was just going to set that up. Let's go.
All right. So just to reiterate that, I'll probably cut that little conversation. Just as we're going through here, we don't cover unreleased units, so we are going to talk about Chosen of Death because they got put up for pre-order today, so we know that they're coming out. Chosen of Famine and Chosen of War, I mean, they have preview written on them. We're basically going to skip units that have preview written on them.
Yep.
And we always do that with hot takes. We don't perceive non-released units or non-on-the-horizon units because they change so much before release. So, Chosen of Death, they used to have 8 attacks, I believe. They have Flawless Strikes built in where before it was part of chanting. And they get +1 evasion when they chant death. So like evasion 3 and untouchable is a good combo. And it was a good combo with them before. It was just harder to get to untouchable. I think the fact that they have flurry and flawless strikes built in.
Yeah, I'm not even going to look
on Clash 3. I think they were Clash 2 before, right?
No,
they were.
Just
they were
to be
Clash
clear,
3, 8.
The old unreleased model rules are just unperceivable. The fact that they used to be 230, cleave 1, evasion 3, and stuff like literally. This is why we don't cover preview things. I'm not going to look at.
Yeah,
I'm going to judge
it's
these
so
as
different.
They are,
yeah,
which is for 220 evasion 2, 5 wounds, 6 attacks with flawless strike and flurry. They must be death, and when they chant, they get +1 evasion, so they get up to 3. Which is how they would get to, which is a better game state to get to that. Yeah. I like these guys. I know they have no defense, but
they're very expensive.
They are.
I think that they're too expensive. I think that they're too expensive.
Stand? No.
I think they also used to be light, or maybe I'm thinking of Chosen of Famine.
Nope.
They're not.
They always used to be medium.
I think at one point they were light.
Yeah.
I think that they are. I think that they're strong glass cannons. They are cannons, but they are glass. I think that they are going to get shot to death.
Oh, Resolve. For this price, not having Resolve 4. Yeah, no, I agree with you.
Resolve only matters when you're getting spelled at or shot at, or meleeed at. But with only 5 wounds is the baseline for Wadroon.
Yeah.
Evade 2, so you are relying on getting the chant off.
Correct. Yeah.
So even if
tempo
it hurts tempo.
Stuff.
It's a defensive buff, and so I think that there is a chance that you just lose priority, and this unit dies to 7 stands of mercenary crossbowmen or something.
So I'm gonna put my Honest Rob hat on, which is you can fix bad pointing, you can't fix bad rules. I like the rules. I think they're costed high. I think this is a unit that we might see drop down.
I think if it drops down a little, it has a lot of the same problems in my opinion that Mahabharati initiates do, where they look like they're cool in melee, and they have really good like, excuse me, Mahabharati initiates have really good like anti-wizard defenses, but against shooting or like shaft melee, like they just die. Like if you throw a unit of raiders at the Chosen of Death, I'm pretty sure the raiders do enough damage that the rest of the unit of Chosen of Death like is nothing. If you get the raiders in before they like get their +1 evasion and their
all that.
yeah, if you hit them in the first step of the round, and then that's like also the problem with defensive things is like, okay, my Chosen of Death are under threat right now. Do I go for the priority to give them that? And like across the board, I have something that like really wants to charge. Like, how do I prioritize which one's gonna go first? And like, like how much am I hedging bets on actually going first? And at the point that you're paying for Chosen to Death 220 points for like an infantry unit, you're playing a more elite list. Sorry, I'll let you talk now.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think they are very expensive. And my bet is, I think they do have a place. I think they are like you want the charge unit, and I think that's a good design space. I think that if you don't want to, previously that used to be Warbred, where you would just send them up and they would like hopefully do more damage and then they died. Right?
Yeah.
They had other tricks, but I think this fits that. I do think these are a little point heavy, as you pointed out. I think there's enough ways there. So, but I like the design space for them. So I think this is a unit that either it's we're thinking it should be a little less, but like if we're right and they bring it down slightly, I think it's interesting. It's got the rules that I think can be good for a thing.
This unit is going to make me say my hottest take that I think I'll ever say. This is, if you've made it this far in the video, please comment on whether you agree with this specifically or not. Okay. My hottest take ever. I think that a Wadroon character or mastery or artifact should give you the ability to once per game start the round, like add a token in the supremacy phase. I think units like Chosen of Death, I think that alone, if that existed, especially if it was like tied to death in some way, which doesn't thematically make sense, but like if it existed, like the opportunity for me to do like a pre-round token, so that
once per game, I feel
just once per game, so that I could like hedge all my bets on an early game, like I'm going to use Chosen of Death tier 3 to get my evasion and unstoppable up, or sorry, tier 2. I think that would be a really useful thing. Also in other places, but it would make me like look at Chosen of Death and be like, okay, because as it stands, it kind of like depends on you putting a lot into the Chosen of Death and always kind of like ending your turn with like tokens left for them to activate early in the next turn. And I think just having that once per game where you can be like, okay, I can safely like use my tokens in the second to last activation, then do an activation after that to add a token, then in between rounds add another token, then Chosen of Death activate and they can chant their token at the beginning of the next round and they get their thing. I think that would like, that's something that like is a very small effect, but I think massively changes the game and could even be like incredibly grossly unbalanced. So I see a world where like Casey Swanson like watches this video, gets to this point, and just instantly comments like, that is the worst idea I've ever heard. It's one of those ideas where like it feels fine to me, but like an actually smart and skilled person would be like, never do that. There's a reason it doesn't exist. Anyways, I think we can move on from this unit.
Go forward. So we're past the preview.
Yeah, Warbred. So Warbred are basically the same, except they gain this Juggernaut ability. Now, I'm going to say something insane. I am one of the few people in the world who thinks Phalanx is a buff for always setting your charges to 3 inches. I think that's an insanely powerful ability. Imagine how I feel about an ability that increases your charge to March +5 instead of March +3, and just does not allow that to be like modified ever. I think these are insanely good. I think always charging 11 inches with Warbred. They lost Relentless Blows.
I was gonna say, so let's cover. I'm gonna cover.
They gained Clash. Okay, Clash 3 is mathematically the same as Clash 2 Relentless Blows.
Okay, yes.
Let me get that out of the way. Mathematically, that's the same if you believe in math. I personally don't, and the Earth is flat. Those are my 2 core beliefs.
I love how you start this with like, I hate inconsistencies and leaving it up to dice. I want that +5 to always have it. But I want relentless blows because I want to gamble.
No. Okay, first of all, no. You're not hearing what I'm saying. I'm saying that Clash 3 and Clash 2 Relentless Blows are the same gamble. They're both 50% of they're both 50% attacks except for Relentless Blow. So I was just making a I don't believe in math joke. Okay.
Yes.
Move. All right. I
think
they're cool.
So they got some stuff. They lost something, but mathematically it should math out. They lost 10 points.
They're going to be more consistent in the actual clash. They're going to have a less spike range, but they've also got like they're more likely going to hit that average. Well, no, but statistics says that it's going to be the same. Statistics says that their math hasn't changed. They just
aren't there some
lost the
artifact
spike.
or skills that used to say opponents reroll ones to hit?
Yes.
Yeah, so that would be
Okay. All right. They get that.
So, but the one thing I just want to say is these are tribal.
Yes.
But they're not infantry, so anything
they don't get
tribal
Impact or Vanguard.
correct. But overall, I think that these are just a little bit more consistent. If you liked them before, you'll probably like them here.
Yeah. Hunting pack, beautiful. My beautiful little boys, my wonderful little guys. They're so beautiful and good in every capacity. They can do no wrong. There's nothing wrong with them. I don't even think they've changed. No, they actually got the biggest buff in the entire world. This regiment is comprised of 3 stands with 5 to 6 models on each stand. Folks, that's a game changer. That is the most beautiful sentence I've ever read in my life.
Oh, because getting 6 on was a pain?
Getting 6 on is a pain, yes.
Okay.
So just them giving us permission that I only have to put 5 on? Oh my God. Oh my Lord. My preferred state is 3 because they only have 3 wounds, but I'm going to take the win.
Yes.
I'm going to take the win, and 5 years from now, maybe we'll get that down to 4, baby. Maybe we'll get that down to 4.
Everything else looks basically the same.
Yeah.
They do have speaker, so they synergize with a lot of things that buff speaker. So I think there's probably some hidden juice across the board there.
Yep.
Next.
Yes, Raptor Riders. They are pretty much the same. You don't have to pay for the Huntress to get the leader and the standard bearer. You lose the effect of the standard bearer where you get the +1 inch on the second march. Like, you just can't get that anymore because they don't have a standard bearer model.
Yep.
But they do have Unstoppable built in at least. So they've got that going for them.
Volley 3. It's op 1.
Oh my God, they can actually hit something with their Barrage 2? Folks, wonderful. And the ability for them to do a free volley action during the activation, also pretty powerful, but this is one of those units where I'm pretty sure you're going to have to... Either Fluid Formation is going to change to like just be 360-degree view or something.
Yeah.
Or it's... Sorry, there's that. It's not going to change at all, and it's just going to be part of that 3 cap, or it's for some reason going to be an exemption to that 3 action cap. I believe that it's going to be the second option there, and you're going to have to choose between Fluid Formation and free volley action. I think that's fair. I think that's reasonable. I think that there's very few cases that you are still going to take that volley action, but I do think that volley 3 goes a long way towards making me think, maybe I will volley now.
And you can volley into the thing you're... No, you can't. Okay.
I mean, if you're already set up for it, there's also a world where you just volley charge Clash, and that's really... That feels really good.
Yeah.
Compared to just never volleying.
Yep.
I also think that there's a world where Fluid Formation stays exactly the same. I think that there's a world where you still do free reform face away from them, volley behind you, and then march directly back.
They're also speaker. They synergize with a lot of their speaker stuff.
Yes.
I think if you like these got incrementally better with those 2 things, and we'll see what happens with Fluid Formation next year.
Yep. Thunder Riders. I think they're cheaper. I think they're cheaper by like 20 points.
They are...
No, they're the same price?
No, 10 points.
Oh, 10 points.
So
okay.
330.
Is the 5 attacks really? No, the 5 attacks is not a red change. Okay, interesting. They also have Juggernaut, which is huge, and when they charge... Or sorry, when they do a March charge specifically, they go from Brutal Impact 2 to Brutal Impact 3. Now, here's a kind of spicy take. I think that's a cute rule, but I also like Brutal Impact 2 and Brutal Impact 3 already like don't feel different, and I might be crazy for this. Cleave 2 and Cleave 3 like rarely feel different for me. Like so many things are like either defense 3 or like already have evade 1.
I was just gonna say, cleave 1 to cleave 2 feels to affect
Big.
game
That's
state.
that's huge. Yes.
But when you get to cleave 3, you're running into what you're doing is reducing their defense low enough where you're just being upheld by the evasion.
Now that being said, I said this in the City States video about the lightsaber, and then I found out immediately after the video that like literally every City States player like takes that lightsaber, like that Cleave 4 whatever thing. And so maybe I'm wrong on that, but Cleave 2 to Cleave 3 doesn't feel, or sorry, Brutal Impact 2 to 3 doesn't feel like that big of a change. Like 0 to 1, enormous. 1 to 2, huge. 2 to 3,
I think it's you get to hit the bell.
I mean,
diminishing returns.
What's really funny is earlier in this very video, both of us were like, Chieftain to Cleave 3. Chieftain to Cleave 3. And so, you know.
No. But to give some
hypocrisy.
context, to give context here is I would not if I have 2 actions, say I move 0 or 1 inch and then do a charge just to get +1 brutal.
That's
because
true.
You'd better.
That's true.
If you have the ability to charge with the first one, you'd rather charge.
Especially because it's
Impact
always
and
11
then-
inches.
Correct. I think what this does is helps incentivize the move charge action because you actually get something for it.
Folks, did they announce Chosen of War today? Sorry, I'm skipping forward. Did they announce... Wait. Hold on. Scroll back up.
Yeah.
Thunder Riders, +70 per stand. Second bullet point. You may add additional stands for 80 points per stand. What's the source of truth?
I'm gonna guess since the old value, which was higher cost 230 and 80 a stand, I'm gonna guess that it's supposed to be 220.
Okay, that makes sense. So Chosen of War aren't listed as a preview stand. I still want to skip past them.
I agree.
All right, Apex Predator, I think is exactly the same, except it does not have the special rule that enables it to have Conquest.
That's about
and Chant.
Yeah, it's up.
Hold on. All right, this is important enough where I am going to look this up now. Like, does it?
The stats look identical. The price looks identical. Literally, it just loses the bellowing. It is a speaker, so it.
Okay, it's in bold text that the only exception is the army's warlord who can choose to follow the cult of conquest.
Yeah.
So only the warlord can choose conquest. And okay, so it doesn't have anything that says monsters don't benefit. So monsters can be any cult now. That is a lot more interesting than I thought. That is... I have not considered that. I missed the bold text, folks. I often joke that wargaming players, number one, like, enemy is, like, reading. Like, they just don't know how to do it. And I've proven that today by myself being a wargamer who did not read. All right, Apex Predator. What are we doing with this? We are making it Famine, right?
Yep.
We're giving it Terrifying 3 with the artifact.
Yeah.
We're having it Shriek
I was just there. You go.
for Terrifying 4 because I don't think... No, wait. Ooh, we're giving it +2 charge distance. So it's charging at least 11 inches, possibly up to 15 inches, up to 16 inches?
It's unstoppable, so like it brings the average
Yeah,
up.
it brings the average up. But yeah, I think that's cute.
Yeah.
I think that's cute. I think that's I do think that no, it's going to be so hard. Like the only way to make it Conquest now is to have your warlord riding it. Which feels like a big cost.
Yeah, I don't.
I don't think like I want to put
think
like a
there's-
warlord matriarch queen on that.
No,
I don't
I
think
think
I want to.
No, I think there's other things you can do.
I
with
think
this,
that they're
yeah.
cool though. I think that you still take 1 to 2 of them. I do
Correct.
still think that the best way to take the second one is the Quattle rider. But let's talk about Tantor.
Yeah, yeah. Just because it gives more utility for the
Yeah.
Apex you take.
Tantor is basically the same.
So
His march characteristic and march distance, which I don't know when those are ever different, cannot be affected by abilities, special rules, or terrain. Kind of cool, kind of neat. Doesn't do the cherry. Gives us another one of those chant options. So you discard 2 markers from the same cult, and he counts as 2 additional stands for scoring, and he ignores any special rules that would make it not be either C's less or not C's at all. So he's an objective player.
I like that design
I
space.
think that's pretty cool.
I think it's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's neat.
And he was always good. Like the stats.
Yeah,
and stuff
he was always
aren't
pretty
bad.
good, and he already
Never.
counts as a base 6 stands for objectives. So like,
Yeah. He's going to be
Oh.
able to he's going to be able to muscle on things and take pretty big units contest. Yeah.
yeah, he's a regiment that is comprised of 1 stand with 1 model on it. So if you put the riders on the Howdah, you're actually illegal because I consider those different models.
Any other final thoughts on Tom
No,
Horse?
moving on. He's good. Quaddle.
They up for pre-order, they count.
They're up for pre-order. They count. They get the free volley action.
Wait,
they
I'm
also
gonna
have
talk-
fluid
yeah.
formation.
Yeah.
No, the old. That's an
Yeah, I was
that's
gonna say,
that's
yeah, we're
old
putting it
rules.
away.
Yeah. Completely different.
Irregular's weird on mediums. Usually irregular's on lights.
What's irregular do?
Not reinforcement, right?
Oh, okay, but okay. I don't care about that.
That's what I'm saying.
the-
It's weird on a medium because by the time it's coming in, other things are setting the reinforcement.
yeah.
line.
Are you
Cool.
sure that's what irregular does? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. That's what I'm
Okay.
saying. It's fine. Sure.
All right. I like that.
I think Fenner have it that way too, but that's because Fenner have like a bunch of movement trick. Oh, I guess that's fluid formation. Now I get it. 9 plus fluid formation. They don't want you jettisoning up the board and then throwing a Apex or a Wing Lord from the reinforcement.
Yeah,
It makes sense now.
But still, I mean, it doesn't have Vanguard, so it's only moving 18 inches up. But okay,
Yeah.
It's basically the Predator riding it, but it doesn't have like the bonus that it gives the entire army. It costs
Correct.
50 points less. Like I don't know, it's so comparable to that. It's got 1 less barrage.
So-
There,
I'm gonna say the thing. I'm gonna reiterate what you said.
I don't
an
think you
hour
take
ago.
this alone.
Correct. Like
You
if you're
take
just,
you take the rider.
if you're gonna take just one quaddle, you just take the Wing Lord because it gives you all the other bonuses for nominal, and then it has a favorable hiring pool that you're just getting a Apex without a bunch of the tax from the other thing.
Yeah, like if you're taking
Yeah.
this guy, like okay, 2 quaddles would be cool. Impossible to transport. I think that you don't actually want 2 quaddles. I don't think that you want 2 quaddles. I think that you want a quaddle and an Apex. And so taking a mounted predator, a wing lord, a hunting pack, and a predator is better than taking anything else, 2 mainstay, and then the quaddle. I think the quaddle offers enough points for just 50 points, and with, as you said, the favorable warband, it's a great pick.
I'm sorry. Finish.
I was just going to say, let's move on to Drum
gonna
Beast,
say- well,
but
last
you
thing I'll
have
say
one
is,
last thought.
I think there's enough things in this faction that has free volley actions as well as slingshots having the interesting chant system that someone is going to try to make a very
like a gun
volley-oriented
line?
list. Yeah, we'll see if it works because the thing that's interesting here is
don't think it'll
you
work.
you can move around and get that free shot. I don't think it'll work, but someone's going to try it. Mark my
I
words.
think that there is juice in like a skirmisher list where you just like are very annoying, but
I agree. Going
Yeah.
too far. Ready to go to the last guy, the big
yes, Drum Beast. Okay, he's like his major change is that okay they get to add additional chant markers. I don't know how that plays with aberrations and.
Oh, is there a world where you put a character with an aberrant with this so you can chant Conquest all the way to tier 3? Like get 3 chants?
I think that that's a possibility. I
Okay.
think that you can, with the Drum Beast and like other regiments around it, with like aberrations and stuff, like you're just like, okay, I'm activating this. I draw this card. I add 3 tokens to the sequence. The next unit is going to chant. I mean, 3 tokens. Let's be real. That's too many tokens. There's no point in going that far.
For Conquest, which, okay.
No, but even then, so like if you're trying to get like 3 conquest tokens, then the next regiment that activates, like if they add a war token, they delete one of the conquest tokens. You can't toss out the one that you're about to add.
the
You
only
have
way
to
you could
toss
do
out
this-
one of the existing ones.
Okay.
So like, it sounds cute, but there's also no point in it because if you're getting 2 tokens and
Yeah.
then the next unit to activate is going to add a token, you get to 3, and so it sounds cute, but there's actually no point in doing it. This taking a Drum Beast, I think, means that you don't take veterans, or sorry, it means that you don't take aberrations because
Yes.
those 20 points that you're spending, you might as well just keep some units close to your drum beast.
Correct.
Oh, that shaft that you've got, that little tilted at an angle guy so the enemies have to charge it weird. Oh, he's now supercharging all of your other regiments. Wow, interesting. I think that makes the drum beast a lot more interesting than it was to take before, because before you sacrificed raw hitting power to gain some weird buffs that weren't quite synergistic with like top tier play. Like, as I said earlier, it was like a noob fixer where it gave you some abilities to prevent some of the worst parts of like playing chance wrong.
I want to talk about it.
I think this is better.
Primal
Okay.
Cacophony is really good
Yes.
because there's a lot of units that there's a lot of army lists. We're not talking about Nords, but like Nords have the thing where they can radiate out their the characters resolve. You have situations where you have a large number of.
I don't know how this interacts with that. Because,
fuck.
if you've got
I know what
Raven
you're saying.
Messengers
If
and
I-
it's changing the regiment's resolve to 5, is I think how that works. I don't think that they're using that.
Oh, you still think they get all the buffs for like the size of the unit and everything?
Right, like
Oh, okay,
so,
never
like
mind.
in
That's
a
less
case where
interesting.
case
Okay.
where you're like, oh, on Force Grown Drones was Resolve 2, and like a Ferromancer has Resolve 4. I don't know if that's actually the case, but in like a situation of like Resolve 2 and Resolve 4, this is useful. But like in a situation where they're like getting outside buffs or size bonus, I don't think that this is useful.
I would like to see how this rule because if this counters that kind of the play that you're
If this
interpreting,
prioritizes over like all other sources,
this is really good. If this is a way of just saying like use the base units resolve, not the character, it's less interesting. Maybe we'll know more about this on Monday with the full rule release. Officers. The big thing is there's one. It's aberrants. It looks like they're trying to tone down the number of officers.
Yep, they basically removed every officer that wasn't already produced, which means that we only get aberration, which is very unfortunate because Tracker was a model that gave Fiend Hunter and Flank to a unit, and that was huge, and it made Blooded insanely good because you would have Fiend Hunter for when that mattered, because some armies had brutes and monsters, and so having for like 155 or 160 points, you got Flank and 19 Clash 2 Fiend Hunter attacks, which is really good investment. So like, obviously, I think that they were going to tone it down a little bit, like maybe Flank or Fiend Hunter, but losing the Tracker, kind of sad. Losing the Skirmisher, which gave you +1 inch to move, also an unfortunate loss.
I do like I know they didn't have the models. I do like the design space of putting officer upgrades.
Yeah.
Hopefully they'll revisit that because one feels a little less, especially where some armies have a lot with.
I do think that officers are one area where it's very easy for them to just be like, let's release some officer waves. Like, they don't need to preview them or anything.
Correct.
They can just kind of be like, hey guys, remember the champion from the Wadroon? Well, here's a cool little model. He's got a Men-at-Arms or a Steel Legion sword in one hand and a Household Knight shield in his other hand. He's the tribe champion. He gives relentless blows to braves and veterans. Like, you can do silly stuff like that and just do splash releases. He used to give +1 attack, like that's an officer that existed. I was just trying to think of something a little more interesting. And I know they're trying to remove single unit officers from the game. Like, if an officer is only in one unit, I think that they are removing it across a lot of armies. So Aberration was a blooded only officer, and now they added it to Braves. But what I really want, I've talked about it before, units that have two choices, usually like an offensive and a defensive choice, those are the Gentleman's Unit. And I think that Wadroon deserve a Gentleman's Unit. I think they need to release a second officer, and they need to give Braves or Blooded access to it. As soon as you give me the Gentleman's choice there of choosing between two officers to customize my unit, that makes Braves like go from rock bottom to super high tier in my book. That's how you win me over on Braves. Okay? And if you do the same for Blooded, then Braves go back down to rock bottom because Blooded are the...
This is a challenge for PB. Make Isaac happy.
Yes.
Give him the gentleman's item. So
Spires have it. 100 Kingdoms have it. City-states have it. Give Wadrun the gentleman's officers.
let's wrap up. We got 4 minutes till
let's
2
go.
hours.
Let's go.
Overall, I like a lot of the directions they're going with things. We just sort of talk about officers. It seems like they're implementing, with this, we're seeing a lot of the new directions. I think keywords and some of the other ways have drastically cleared up rules. I think, Isaac, you were very good at poking rules as written versus rules as intended, and I think they tightened a lot of things up. And I think there are improvements to Wadrun that make it a lot easier for someone to join.
Yes.
And I do think if a new person buys a box and they just build it, including the banner, and they just play that, I think they don't have to worry like, oh no, I built a banner, now I'm stuck paying 15 points forever. So I think there's a lot of ways that this new set, this new Wadrun, as well as hopefully the new set of rules for everyone, makes it more accessible to new people, which we want. Yep. And I, in general, am very excited for the new creatures that are in here. The reason I say creatures is the Wing Lord, the Quaddle character. I said it was a cold take earlier. It's going to be good. I just feel it's got good stuff going on.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. And so, hopefully soon we'll have hot takes for the Nords. And it does seem like the rules have changed universally enough across all factions where we might do a complete refresh of all of our hot takes videos.
Yep.
It sounds like 100 Kingdoms are getting new rules sooner rather than later, so that might be the last one, and we might just hold off until they get another thing. But yeah, remember, like, comment, subscribe.
Use our affiliate code down below to get money off. Helps the channel.
And that's all, folks. We'll see you in the next Conquest.